Curb Servers, The Block, Episode 7, unedited. Now, growing up on the block wasn't always so stressful. No, it wasn't always a brush fire. Some days it was peaches and cream. Yeah, it was all good. The biggest stress growing up on the block originally, before all the stress kicked in and all the other stuff, was going against the Lakers. That's a fact. That was the number one gang on the block, was the Lakers. I don't give a fuck, man, woman, child, the dog, you fucking name it, they rooting for the Lakers. Now, as far as I can remember, this anti-Laker stress, for me, goes back to, I believe, 1980. Yeah, see, in 1980, Magic Johnson and the Lakers defeated the 76ers for the NBA championship. Now, this game, this series, set off a Laker trend on my block like you couldn't believe. I mean, all these motherfuckers was running down the street, Lakers, Lakers, all of them. I don't care who you was, everybody. But there was a couple of exceptions to the rules. One exception was my Uncle E. Uncle E damn sure wasn't happy. He wasn't no Laker fan. We get into Uncle E a little later and what he thought. But the main person on the block that was upset was one of my best friends. I told y'all, I had a few best friends. I had Skeeter, I had Ken Dog, I got Murdoch, I got Jonas, I got Lil Wino. This is my crew. This is my Little Wino, he flux in and out of the crew. Ain't no telling where the hell he gonna be. But for sure, Ken Dog, Skeeter, Murdoch, and Jonas, we like a real tight-knit crew. And so my homeboy, Ken Dog, he's devastated. He's in pain because his favorite player was Dr. J for the 76ers. See, this is before Michael Jordan. See, before there was a Michael Jordan, there was Dr. J. And my homeboy Ken Dog, he was the biggest Dr. J fan ever. So he was devastated. See, this was that game when Magic filled in for Kareem because Kareem was hurt. Magic was a rookie. He went for like 40, closed them out in 6, 4 games to 2. Y'all remember the Laker fans? Go ahead, clap it up. See, that began a series of Laker fans for generations on the block. I mean, that game set off this Laker trend on this block that I can't even explain how big it was. But see, one thing about this story is that we got to break this part down. See, not only my homeboy Ken Dog couldn't stand the Lakers. See, his pops, Big Larry couldn't stand the Lakers either. Yeah, I think he was like a Detroit nigga. Yeah, and he couldn't stand the Lakers. And so he was rooting for the Sixers too. See, he was a Pistons fan. He loved the Detroit Pistons. But he'll root for the Sixers to kick the Lakers' ass, that's for sure. Now, I spent a lot of time over Ken Dog house. So his pops was kind of like my pops, right? And so if Ken Dog pops don't like the Lakers, then I don't like the Lakers. If Uncle E don't like the Lakers, then I don't like the Lakers. See, Uncle E, he didn't like the Lakers either. See, these were the only two rebels in the neighborhood. The only two rebels in the neighborhood that was the anti-Laker gang was Big Larry, which was Ken Dog Pops, and Uncle E, which was Face Pops. There was the only two anti-Laker. I'm talking about big anti-Laker guys. To give y'all a little background. Now, Ken Dogfather was a big Detroit fan. So he was rooting for the Sixers against the Lakers. So the next year, when the Sixers defeated the Lakers, oh, you couldn't tell Ken Dog shit. Ken Dog was running down the street, chasing the Laker fans. Shit, I joined in. I was even an adopted Sixer fan for a moment. Yeah, we chasing all the Laker fans around. Yeah, I remember the game when Dr. J rose up and dunked on Michael Cooper, and Michael Cooper ducked. He didn't want no smoke. Yeah, see, this before the Michael Jordan times. Yeah, me and Ken Dog, we chased everybody up and down the block. I'm just supporting Ken Dog. He the Sixer fan. But one thing about the Lakers, we had no idea, us anti-Laker fans, us what they call nowadays, us Laker haters, we had no idea that the Lakers was finna go on the run they went on. No, we didn't know. All we knew is that Dr. J just dunked on Michael Cooper and the Laker run was over. But it wasn't over. Yeah, the Lakers make another run to the playoffs, and now they run into Detroit. Now, Detroit had a hard team too. Yeah, they were some G's. And Ken Dog father, he was a huge Detroit fan. Yeah, he loved the Detroit Pistons. And this was his year to talk shit to the Laker fans. Yeah, see, this was the first stress on the block. See, all of us became the Laker haters. This is how we started choosing teams as fans. Who the fuck is the Lakers playing in the finals? I'm going against the Lakers. That's my team. In our childhood in 1980, it started off with the Sixers. Ken Dog chose. He's probably a Sixer fan to this fucking day. Then next thing you know, in 83 or 84 or something, it's Detroit Pistons. Ken Dog Pops. Yeah, he had us rooting for the Pistons. Then the Celtics slide in there. Yeah, the Boston Celtics slide in there somewhere. And that's when you bring in my Uncle E. See, my Uncle E, he couldn't stand the Lakers. He was a Celtics fan. And I asked him one day, I said, why are you rooting for the Celtics? He said, because my homeboy played for the Celtics. I don't root for no fucking Lakers. I'm rooting for the Celtics. I'm going for my homeboy. My homeboy Freckleface from Compton. That's my homeboy. I said, Freckleface? Who is Freckleface? He said, Dennis Johnson. That's my homeboy. I'm rooting for my homeboy. I don't give a fuck about the Lakers. This Celtics in this house. Now, I grew up on a block, but it was only a few families on the block that actually had a daddy in the house. 90% of the families on the block didn't have no pops in the house. But Face did and Ken Dog did. And Face is like my little cousin because that's little Wino little cousin. So, you know how that goes. That's my little cousin. So his pops is like my pops too. All right, that's my Uncle E. He kind of actually had a dual role. He was like pops and uncles to a lot of us. So was Ken Dog father early in the game. You know, Ken Dog father used to take us to go play basketball out in Manhattan Beach. Yeah, these was the first dunk courts. Yeah, we'd go all the way. Ken Dog father had a van. And he'd pile all the kids up in the van. All the kids that he fucked with. And he'd take us all the way out to Manhattan Beach. And the adults would play right there at the beach. And we had a little secret dunk court. Yeah, me, Ken Dog, a couple of the homies. You know, Maze would go sometimes, Skeeter. And we'll go all the way across this park. See how this park right here? We'll go all the way across this park. And then we'll find this little dunk court. Now, most of us couldn't dunk yet. But yeah, we can make these layups look nice. Now, Ken Dog father was just a basketball fiend, period. He loved basketball. And so when the Lakers was playing Detroit during that little series, the Laker hatred started to run deep in like my veins, Ken Dog veins, as the Celtics joined in to the anti-Laker teams. Face becomes a Celtic fan. I got to make a decision. Am I going to be a Sixer fan with my homeboy Ken Dog? Am I going to be a Detroit fan with Big Larry? Or am I going to be a Celtic fan with Uncle E? Like everybody else, I got to make a choice. You're goddamn right. I'm a Celtic fan. I had to join the Celtics. Yeah, I never forget. I looked at Uncle E. I said, well, shit. Well, I didn't say shit. But I looked at Uncle E. I said, you a Celtic fan because of freckle face? He said, yeah, freckle face. He from Compton. That's the homeboy. Yeah, we rocking with him. I said, okay, well, I'm going outside. I'm telling everybody. And I went outside. Yeah, I'm going with the Celtics. Freckle face. The homie freckle face. I didn't even know who Dennis Johnson was. But I know I was running down the street telling anybody who would listen. Yeah, I ain't messing with the Lakers. I'm rocking with the Celtics. I'm rocking with the homie Freckleface from Compton. That's what Big E told us. Or that's what Uncle E told me. He told me that was his homeboy, Freckleface from Compton. Dennis Johnson. This is how we became Celtic fans. Face and myself. The only two Celtic fans on the block. Ken Dog's a Sensor fan. His pops is a Detroit Pistons fan. And everybody else is Laker fans. Everybody else, bar none. Now, this one time, because, let me break this down. See, Ken Dog Pops, he used to also DJ. See, I told y'all, it wasn't always stressful times on the block. And we would have little parties and Ken Dog Pops would DJ for us and shit. And one time, I think, what was his cousin's name? The homie, I think his cousin Devin, the homie Devin, I think his cousin name is Devin. But he had a cousin, Ken Dog had a cousin who used to come around a lot. I think the homie Devin. And he was having a birthday party on the block. And this probably was like 1983 or something. And at this moment, the hottest nigga in the streets was Michael Jackson. There was nobody bigger because Billie Jean, Beat It, Thriller, PYT, all that shit was popping. This was the hottest summer in the history of music, bar none. And Ken Dog's little cousin, he was a huge Michael Jackson fan. And, you know, Ken Dog, he had mama and daddy. Like his mama, that's like my mom's, you know. He had good family, very good family. He had good, solid parents, right? So they had a little money, and they was able to throw events and parties. You know what I'm saying? It was hardworking people. And so they hired a Michael Jackson imitator. You know, now this is back in the days. This is 1983. This ain't 2003 or 2023. I'm telling you how Ken Dog parents done it back in the days. We got a big ass party and all the kids are in the back of the apartments. It's his cousin Devin, I believe it's cousin Devin's birthday. And he's sad because he kind of waiting on his present. And before we know it, a limousine pulls up. And a fake Michael Jackson pop out. And the music come on. Ken Dog Pop's throwing to Michael Jackson, you know, Billie Jean or Beat It, whatever the hell he threw on. And man, homeboy he looked just like, well, I ain't gonna say he looked just like Michael Jackson. But you know what? He got the job done. He was Michael Jackson to us. He had the curl, he had the outfit, the little shoes and shit. Yeah. We thought Michael Jackson was on the block. You could, man, listen. This was the greatest kid party in the history of the block. Listen, Ken Dog parents set it off. They had Michael Jackson, all the kids from everywhere. They was running into the back to the back of the apartments because Michael Jackson was on the block and he was singing Beat It and doing Thriller and all the hot songs. And my nigga Devin was doing the electric slide and doing the Michael Jackson. And remember, he was sad. But when Michael Jackson popped out, oh, Devin was pumped up. Shout out to Devin, wherever you at. See, that was the hottest birthday party in the history of the block. Well, I don't know. We might have to talk about Tasha's birthday party. Voltron! That's the end of Curve Servers. The Block, episode 7. We be back.